All right, I think we're going to get started now. Thank you. That was such a fun and warm introduction. I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name is Theresa Gonzales. Yes, I grew up in Fresno, California, and you know where Fresno is. And I want to just tell you that the Central Valley is very special. And, you know, I left Fresno when I was very young because there's something that my grandmother put in my mind, that there is a world out there that she never got to see. And she wanted me and my sisters to go and explore that. So there was this curiosity. And it started with my uncle, because my uncle moved to San Francisco. You know, he was like Bruno, right? We don't talk about Bruno, right? Bruno. But it was like we needed to go see him. I'd never been to San Francisco. I didn't know what a big city was. But when I saw different things, different people, my brain was just like, whoa, like there's so many different things out there in the world. Curiosity was coming to me like, why is this? Why is this here? Why is this not there? Why do these things happen? I had this curiosity that really put me in a place of wanting to explore. And for a Latina, coming from, you know, the Central Valley, that's like, who are you? What do you think you're doing, right? The biggest thing that was coming to me at the time was, when are you getting married? Are you gonna have kids, right? As a Latina, that gets asked to us all the time, right? When are you gonna get married? You know, when are you going to have kids, right? And I was like, oh my God. So my family, you know, we had many upheavals, to say the least. You know, I didn't know where we were going to live. My mother was divorced. You know, there's a lot of things that happened in my life that I said, there's things that are happening that I don't understand, and I want to understand them. So I said, I want to go into music, and I got into music, and then I said, I like science, and I wanted to be a nurse. But none of those things happened. And I said, why is this not happening? I said, I need to go outside of here because the environment wasn't in a nurturing space for me and my curiosity. So I just want you guys right now, just think about something. If you close your eyes right now, right, because we've talked about closing your eyes and what do you see. In the year that you were born, if you close your eyes, think about the year that you were born, because you were in your mother's womb for 9 months. All you could hear was hear her, hear things, eat food that she ate. You know, you felt all these things, but you were not in the world. And I could tell you what happened in the year I was born, which was technology. We put a man on the moon. I'm dating myself here. We put a man on the moon, and we had some of the biggest music festivals that ever happened in the United States. One was Woodstock. The other one was called the Summer of Soul. And in NASA, they put a man on the moon, but they didn't talk about the women that helped put the men out in the first Apollo mission towards the moon. Why is this important? This is what I'm getting to about the narratives that we learn and feel and see in our communities. So when I talk about when I was born, and what happened, I think about, wow, I was into music. I still am. Music's a big part of my life. And I'm very much into technology. I ended up working in technology for 20 years. My last 2 jobs were at Facebook and Google. Google and Facebook, I should say. I didn't know I was gonna go there. I didn't know I was gonna work at Oracle. I didn't know I was gonna work at Dell. And I look at this and I say, how does this influence my whole life to be in podcasting and helping women of color and small businesses, because I see women that see their dreams in small business to close the gap in wealth equity. And I see technology being the bridge for that. And it does create a shorter wealth creation, a path to creation of wealth, faster than anything I've ever seen. And so when I say to people, we've been talking about all day today is technology. Technology, the jobs that you can get into. Technology, where you can learn to code. Technology, where you could be a leader on teams. But at the same time, we're also talking about how we want to change what's happening in our communities. Today, technology is used on a very high level to paint us in a picture that is not well represented in our communities. We're talked as threats. We're not talked about in these empowerment positions. We're not being discovered by new technology platforms that we're creating. In my podcast, I have talked about men and women in our communities that are building platforms, that are creating a gap, they're closing the gap in problems that retail is not seeing us in their scope. I'll give you an example. A woman, she was a software engineer for some time. She took those software engineer skills and started an outdoor clothing company for women of color. Why is that? Because we're beautiful and shapely. And if you go to REI or Patagonia or all these other companies, the clothes are not made for us. They're not made for us. So she created clothes that are made for us. And you know what? REI picked her up as an entrepreneur in their cohort, and now she's being distributed through their entire product line. And now they're selling shirts. That is a problem she saw, that she took her technology skills working as a software engineer and applied them to an industry that didn't see us. Another woman I interviewed on my podcast, she was working in social health in New Mexico. She worked in creating services for people that did not speak English so they could understand their health resources. She and her daughter were doing this community for the local state government. What they ended up doing was writing a proposal to the NCIS, I believe that's what it's called, the National Cancer Institute. I forget the last letter. But they wrote a $1 million proposal to start an app, a healthcare app for Latinas, because of our diets and our food is made to look bad, but we eat the most fruits and vegetables. About how we can exercise the way we want to exercise. It was a whole app that other people have created called Noom and all these other apps to watch your diet and fitness for $100 a month. But this was free because of the grant. Now a healthcare provider which sees the opportunity in Latinas and our Latinidad, they partnered with her for the data that is going to help them in healthcare to make new medicines or new health programs for that health provider. So what I'm talking about are these gaps that these big institutions do not see, and how our communities are looked at, how we can provide additional resources, information, and data. These are technology solutions. We use technology every day. We've heard it. We hold it in our hands. But how are we changing the narrative for us is how we solve a problem where we're not being represented, where our voice is not being heard, our healthcare is not being looked at or managed, our education system is broken. How do we fix that with online technology? online education? How do we create new services for community, but for kids? So when I go back and I think about the year I was born, and I think about the first man on the moon, yet there were women behind that helped them get to the moon. And I think about Woodstock, and I think about all that awesome music that happened during that time. And then here's the Summer of Soul, which was all black and brown musicians. If you haven't seen the documentary, please go and see it. Questlove made that. It is beautiful. Talks about all our people coming together in New York City. So in that capacity, I'm telling you to think about the year you were born and the year that your children are born today. They are accelerating so much faster than we ever will. And what are they looking at today? What are they most engaged with today? I can tell you, it's this. They're on this like crazy. Gaming, pictures, but how is it influencing them? We are making more data points on here that it is learning more about us than we are learning about technology. And that's where we have to change the narrative, because that's where we get erased when we are not owning that technology, the narrative, and how we represent ourselves online. This is what I talk about in my podcast. This is what I talk about in bringing education and technology into our classrooms, into business, into how you want to start your own business. Even if it's a taco truck, you want to start a taqueria, you want to start something, but how you do it, how you show up, because everything is integrated into the construct of what we're living in today, but how we own it is how we dictate what goes into this machine here. And once we get on the other side of learning how to code, learning what jobs are available, learning where resources are, putting things in our language and saving places that are sacred and putting that online to say, stop, you cannot go there, this is our land, and using it for good, that's where we change the narrative for our communities and also for the future generations, which are here now, and they are accelerating on this platform faster than we can ever, catch up to. So that's what I wanted to say. I love the Central Valley because you have the biggest heart. I love coming back here. I love my family in Fresno, but this area is changing fast. And I am so excited to see what's happening here with technology, because this again is the glowing spot that people aren't talking about, but it's going to be talked about in the next few years. So thank you.